Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving up your time to attend this King Island Tourism Forum. My name is Adam Hely and I am lucky enough to head up the King Island Tourism Group. I would like to welcome and introduce our visitors to the island, all of whom provide us with great support, guidance and expertise in furthering tourism. Tom Wootton and Sarah Norton are here today representing West by Northwest, being one of 4 regional tourism organisations operating in Tasmania. West by Northwest have partnered us with us over the past 4 years to facilitate successful and cohesive working relationships with Tourism Tasmania, State Growth, Parks and Wildlife and Events Tasmania, all of whom we also welcome here today. Anne Greentree is here this afternoon from Tourism Tasmania. Anne is the Director of the Visitor Economy Strategy. Tourism Tasmania is our state government body whose role it is to create demand for travel by connecting people culturally and emotionally to the state. Tourism Tasmania has traditionally included King Island in a broader state marketing programs, though in recent years has recognised that we are more of an individual destination and we have welcomed recent campaigns specifically designed for us. State Growth is represented here today by Kate Mirowski in her capacity as the Director of Small Business. State Growth, as the name suggests, is the government body tasked with economic growth in Tasmania through initiative including business support, job creation and opportunity identification. Many of you will recall that State Growth was instrumental in providing tangible support to businesses during the worst of lockdown caused by the COVID pandemic. Also this afternoon we have Adam Sproule from Events Tasmania, being an arm of State Growth. Events Tasmania supports and encourages event organisers through the provision of grants and funding, together with operational and event development advice. Stuart Jones from the Tourism Hospitality Association joins us today. Stuart is the manager of the association for the North and West regions. The THA is an industry body informed by direct industry contact and member representation, advocating for hotels, restaurants, cafes, clubs and pubs. The association lobbies all levels of government, playing a lead role in the formation of industry-relevant policies. And finally, we have Warren Moore from the Braddon Business Centre, a regular visitor to our island. Many here will have received business advice from Warren, whether from a start-up position or in an established position investigating options for growth. The Braddon Business Centre is funded through the Department of State Growth. Once again, welcome to all our guest speakers and thank you to the organisations which you represent. We are so very fortunate to be partnered with organisations that offer and provide assistance, hear our concerns and are keen to work with us in fostering a strong tourism sector on King Island. Since accepting the role of President of our tourism group some 4.5 years ago, we have certainly had our ups and downs. The first 18 months of my tenure was a busy and rewarding time promoting King Island through the KITI and donation-funded publication of the King Island magazine, hosting the European Union in conjunction with King Island Brand Management Group, hosting the management and staff of the PGA, and accommodating journalists and influencers to positively profile and expose our island. In March 2020, COVID struck our industry with a vengeance. The past 2.5 years have seen our organisation needing to step up and fight harder for the survival of our members. During state border lockdowns, KITI identified the need to foster Tasmanian tourism and was successful in lobbying with our partners to have the state government underwrite a regular air travel service direct to Hobart. This not only opened access to a largely untapped tourist market to King Island, but had the further bonus of providing our residents the opportunity to travel direct to our state's capital. Additionally, we have lobbied and been successful in creating targeted island-centric marketing and advertising during the pandemic. KITI was particularly pleased with the success of canvassing for government assistance for individual operators and the lobbying for further marketing required to combat the damage caused by travel warnings issued by the Director of Health earlier this year. Throughout the whole of the pandemic, KITI has provided in-house advice to members in navigating financial assistance options and in ensuring COVID compliance. One of the most important roles of our association over the last 5 years has been in achieving collaboration between members, encouraging them to work together and cross-promote one another. This deemed vital to facilitate a positive and varied experience for our visitors, whether they have come to play our golf courses, enjoy our beaches, embrace our natural environment, eat our produce or enjoy our homegrown beverages. We can be extremely proud that we have not squabbled over the existing pie, but rather have worked to grow the size of that pie. Enhancing the customer experience through promoting one another's offerings has been quite an achievement, though we must take care not to become complacent in this regard. King Island is, has been and will always be an island of primary production with strong beef, dairy, fishing and kelping industries. These industries have historically provided adequate opportunities for our younger demographic, though with ongoing mechanisation and efficiencies of practices in primary production, tourism will be needed to ensure the retention of our youth through providing employment opportunities. No doubt the renewed development of the Hely mine in Grassy will provide employment and a financial boost for the island, though the duration of operation of the mine is dependent on mineral deposit size and product demand. I believe, in contrast, tourism has the potential to ensure longevity and sustainability to employment on King Island and providing activities and experiences for visitors and locals alike. We are already rated one of the best golfing destinations in Australia, with Wickham and Ocean Dunes being ranked number 2 and number 18 respectively, and with our volunteer-run local golf course having just received the top ranking for a 9-hole golf course. All our golf courses are underutilised, and the number of rounds played and associated island visitation can be greatly increased. There is no doubt that King Island tourism industry has some big challenges in front of it, which include attracting staff and being able to house them, encouraging development on the island to provide accommodation for both domestic and holiday use, training and education to improve the quality of our hospitality, improving access to the island. One of our greatest failings as an organisation in recent times has been our inadequacy in letting our members know what we are achieving and the benefit that they are receiving from our endeavours. The underwriting of Hobart flights, targeted advertising programs and the facilitation of a myriad of education opportunities have all contributed to island visitation in recent years. None of these benefits occur organically. All have required many hours behind the scenes and voluntary hours by our KITI executive. It is intended that our channels of communication with KITI members will continue to improve, and we look forward to increased participation of members in educational offerings. Members of KITI will ensure that all tourism operators benefit from the works of KITI and its partnered organisations. We are blessed to live on an island where many people live by the ethos, it is not what the island can do for me, but what I can do for the island. This is evidenced by our many organisations, including KITI, which are run and staffed by volunteers. Whilst we are nailing some aspects of tourism, such as our golf courses, high-end accommodation, some dining experience, and of course our clean and green beauty, we have a long way to go in optimising consistency of hospitality quality. Not being over-reliant on our high-end operators, but also in more budget offerings, the arts, agri-tourism and community. We have an island which produces some of the most highly regarded and sought-after produce in the world, including but not limited to beef, cheese and seafood. Though more often than not, visitors find it difficult to source it whilst here. We need to complete the paddock-to-plate experience. Accommodation and hospitality operators justifiably can feel hamstrung struggling with availability and quality of staffing, injections of capital, time and enthusiasm. Our guest speakers today have a breadth of knowledge and experience capable of helping us combat some of these challenges. So what do we want? We need to start with improving accessibility to the island. We need to increase the capacity of our airport by enabling the landing of larger aircraft from greater distances and more frequent landings. This will arm our larger operators and potential developers with the confidence to expand their offerings. It has been proven time and time again that if you build it, they will come. An airport upgrade would be the catalyst to ignite market forces to develop and solve our housing and staffing shortages. I believe that this is a hugely exciting time to be involved in tourism on King Island, with our home still being in the preliminary stages of development growth. We need to continue to work toward a common goal to improve the quality of our offerings, retain our island identity, and deliver a unique customer experience to rival our ever-growing competition. I would now like to welcome our next speaker, Tom Wootton from West by Northwest, who is our Regional Tourism Partner and Manager.
thank you all for coming. This is absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of faces here that I know, but many I don't, which I think is even more exciting. Obviously, the tourism industry, the visitor economy spans well beyond just the tourism industry and tourism operators. It affects everybody, particularly in a small place like King Island. So thank you all for being here, for showing an interest, and hopefully we can continue to connect beyond today. The purpose of today obviously is to expose you to more than just the tourism body, be it local and regional and state, but also to some of the other colleagues with whom we work. We get a lot of feedback when we come to the island that, we're here this week, and a couple of weeks ago somebody else was here, and next week there's a few other people here. So people are always having to come out to these kind of forums. So we thought, let's roll it all together and quite casually put the word out there that maybe we could all go in one hit. And every time someone responded and said, yes, I'll come, it meant we went from 30-minute presentation down to 25, down to 20, now it's 10 each. So I've just used my first minute, but I'll probably borrowed your minute, I reckon, on that one, so that's okay. Hopefully this will work for us. Here we go. So what I'm going to do, you might have seen on the flyer that we were going to have a session on basically shaping the tourism strategy for the next 8 years. That's the 2030 strategy, which Anne Greentree is going to take us through. We were going to start with that session and then have these introductions. We thought that made zero sense. Let's turn it around and introduce who we all are first, and then we're going to have that discussion. So what's important is that you get a quick bite-sized understanding of who we all are, and then the really important part, I think, of today will be the networking afterwards, where hopefully we can then discuss some of what we've talked through today. But then again, beyond that, stay in touch with us and keep talking and shape the future of tourism on the island. So I'm going to explain what the tourism industry, this is not the strongest, this is the only piece of equipment which is mine, not Wade's, and it's not working very well. Here we go. So this is what the tourism industry looks like in Tasmania, a firebrand explanation. So for all intents and purposes, the beginning and the end is the T21 Visitor Economy Strategy, or partnership, which is a partnership between industry and government at state level. The signatories for that partnership are the Tourism Industry Council as the representatives of industry, and Tourism Tasmania as the representatives of government. But it is not just those two bodies. Indeed, we work with, as we've got Stuart here from the THA, the Tasmanian Hospitality Association, also on that industry side, Events Tas here from the government side. I mean, we work with a lot of players, but that industry and government partnership, it's the only one of its kind in Australia where we have a partnership and a strategy that is formed together by industry and government. Typically, it is government come up with an industry and provide it to provide it to industry to interpret. So we're very lucky in Tasmania, and it's again probably tribute to our size that we can do something like that. Then at regional level, we have 4 RTOs, 4 regional tourism bodies: Visit Northern Tasmania, East Coast Tourism, Destination Southern Tasmania, and West by Northwest. So we take in, as the name suggests, the West, the Northwest and King Island. And as Adam mentioned before, when we arrived in the region, and maybe even at a state level, the King Island was kind of roped into a broader region to be marketed. We did some market research when we first started to say, do people know where Cradle Coast is? And is King Island part of that? And there was a very low awareness of what Cradle Coast meant to the visitor. It means a lot from a council point of view, but not so much to a visitor point of view. So we started to talk about King Island, West Coast and Northwest very separately, and necessarily so. King Island is very much a destination in its own right. We do 4 things, 4 strategic pillars at West by Northwest: advocacy, industry development, product development and marketing. And in that order, we are a 2 FTE organisation, so we run very skinny in terms of resource and budget, so we are not really in place to do marketing. What we do is play a role in the research phase of marketing, so websites and social media. But we don't do really any advertising, and that's kind of where we work really closely with Tourism Tasmania, and they are essentially the state's marketing agency. So the role we play at a regional level is to make sure that we feed really strong content be that visual content, written content, or simply ideas through to Tourism Tasmania. So when they are doing campaigns, they're very aware that there are some unbelievable golf courses, which of course the Tourism Tasmania CEO spends more time playing golf here than he does anywhere else, I think. So they're very aware of that, but making sure that they understand what our region has to offer for their marketing campaigns. I've outlined that we split it into those three. The other three there, the other three pillars, advocacy, we basically provide a channel between government, be it local, state or federal, and industry. So when there are issues, and indeed there have been on the island, that we can feed straight into the government, and conversely, when government are making decisions, we can feed them back to industry and explain the rationale, or lack thereof sometimes, for some of those. But it's providing that critical channel and being a voice for our region's industry. Industry development is, I guess, things like this. You know, it's working with industry to make sure that industry are supported, that they have the skills they need to put their best foot forward, and that can be anything from digital literacy to understanding training and staffing, to a whole range of things that we do, product development, access to grants. And again, we work with all the partners that are here today to deliver some of that industry support and development. And then there's product development, which is basically supporting people who come into the region, entrepreneurs, let's say, that want to develop a new product, and we help them do that. Access to data, maybe access to grants, access to others who have done it before. But it's also helping people with existing product to grow and enhance that product. Okay. At a local level, we work with local councils who have all got a... I'm not in your way now, am I? They all play, obviously, a very important role in the visitor economy. We work with marketing groups, the likes of the Cradle to Coast Tasting Trail, and then local tourism associations and chambers of commerce. All of these bodies, it sounds kind of complex, but they all play a role in tourism, and it's really important that we have a relationship with them, help them understand what we're doing, so that we're not treading on toes, and they can help us, we can help them, but as long as we're all communicating and understanding that we're all pulling in the same direction. Local tourism associations, we have 6 across our region of 9 councils, and I've got to say you're extremely lucky to have the one that you have here on the island in KITI, a very sophisticated approach to what they do, much more productive than some of the other LTAs that we work with. So it's worth you understanding that you're in very good hands here with Adam and the team. Since we have been working with King Island, so we've been alive as an organisation for nearly 3 years in October. We've, as Adam mentioned, worked on a range of different projects. I'm not going to go through all of those now because I'm getting close to running out of time, but we've just launched a new website for King Island in partnership with KITI. Marketing support throughout. We've taken over the social media. In fact, we even with that outsource to a group that basically focus just on social media, and we give them KPIs so that they have got all of the detail they need and all the content they need to be doing a great job of our social media for the island. Product development, we've worked with a number of you across the island on how you can enhance your own product, getting access to grants. The flight subsidies, which is great, they were put in place and then they were extended, and we want to see those create a sustainable flight path from Hobart to King Island. Agri-tourism, Adam touched on it, it's a really important one for us and for the future of the island. A huge part of what we can offer here, obviously, but a huge market demand for these agri-tourism experiences, these paddock to plate experiences, perhaps more so post-COVID when people have been eating their canned food in their apartments in Melbourne and Sydney. They want to get the hell out of the cities and back to what's real, and King Island represents that very much. So we've played a big hand in delivering a program on agri-tourism development right around the state, but also here in King Island. Other bits there, the voucher scheme you'll all be familiar with. There's another iteration of that coming, more detail to follow. Content, we've facilitated some photographers and videographers coming to the island as well. So more to come. What we're going to talk about today is what you all want to see, expect to see, would like to see next that might help shape our destination.
I was only here a couple of weeks ago, so I am familiar with some of the faces in the room. So my name's Kate Mirowski. I am the Director of the Small Business Unit within the Department of State Growth. Rather than present, I have a few questions for you. How many of you may have used our Business Tasmania service? or familiar with the service. I can see. So not many of you. So this is basically our mission. I'm not going to read it out to you, but we are basically here. We're the Department of State Growth's, or I suppose government's, actual support system for businesses. Our Business Tas service is there for everybody. So these are the ways that you can contact my staff in Business Tasmania. So we have a 1-800 number for those of you who are not familiar with. You can actually talk to somebody. We don't have an answering machine. We do try and get to everybody. If you do get our answering machine, we do try and call you back. We do call you back within at least a 24-hour period. But we can also have an email inquiry system as well. And we have Facebook, Twitter, and we have our website. So the team are there to answer all your questions or refer you on to different parts of the department or any of the programs and services that we have. We've got Warren in the room, so he is one of our business advisors within our Enterprise Centre Tasmania program. Now that's a program there where you get free business advice up to 5 hours for any stage of the business life cycle or any stage that you just feel that you might need assistance. So that's one of the services that if you contact BT, the team will actually talk to you. They'll work out what your actual needs are and where you can best get help. So whether that be BT or one of our programs. We also have lots of tools on our Business Tas website. So these are the different services and programs that we actually have. So our BT team, even if it's an Australian government question or grant program, our team stay connected to what's actually going on in the industry so that you can actually try and get the information that you need at that point in time. Rather than actually give you the person to contact, the team will actually find the questions for you and contact you back. We try to not make you jump through too many hoops. We pride ourselves, I suppose you could say, in the customer service that the team actually offer. We also run events and workshops. So, for example, we were here with Warren a couple of weeks ago and we ran a grant writing workshop. So on our Business Tasmania website, there is actually a grant writing tool, our workbook. So if any of you are looking at applying for grants in the near future, I really strongly encourage you to either have a look at our Business Tas website and have a look at that workbook, and that should help you, guide you through writing your grant application. We also run lots of different events and workshops, just depending on the needs of the businesses in the community. So, for example, if anyone was to contact us, so if Adam or Tom were to contact us and say, we believe tourism businesses on Flinders Island would really benefit for some business planning expertise, we'd probably ring Warren and say, Warren, can you please come and run a workshop with us on Flinders Island? Of King Island. Oh my gosh, I knew I'd do that. I'm there in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, I knew I'd do that. I did that when I was on Flinders Island the other week. I said I was on King Island. So we'd run that workshop for businesses on the island. So we've spoken about our business advisors with Warren and our Enterprise Centre Tasmania program. We also have access to digital coaches. So has anyone used the Digital Ready program, or is anyone familiar with that program? That actually also offers, and I'll get to the website in a minute, that also offers an opportunity for you to get coaching in that digital space. So whether it be social media or just getting your website up and running. And tools, information, resources are always available on our website, as I discussed, and I nearly put that. Oh, thank you. Manual. So this, just to familiarise you with, this is our Digital Ready for Business website. So there are lots of different tools from a digital perspective that can help you run your business. You can also get access to free digital coaching. So that can either be online. I do believe we are actually working with the digital coaches at the moment to try and get some workshops here on King Island. So that hopefully should be coming up very shortly. And these are some of the resources that they have on the Digital Ready for Business workshop website. You can access the Digital Ready website through our Business Tas website, but you can also go straight to their own page. So that's that. I'm speeding along. And they have blogs and so forth. Next. And there's the information on the free digital coaching. Has anyone accessed the 4 hours available? Yeah, so there's a few. I strongly encourage, if it is an area that you are looking at how to promote your business, or even understanding how to increase your presence in a social media perspective, it is a really good resource, and it's also free, and it is there to help you connect with your customers and promote what you have to offer. And there's the Digital Doctor. You can actually type your question in and the Digital Doctor will give you your answers. Even if you want to just know, it does a little scan of your website. So if you do have a website and you'd like a little bit of feedback on how that's performing, the Digital, or Dr. Digital, can actually help you in that space as well. This is our Business Tas website. This is how you can contact us. As I said, we have up-to-date information. We have all our business tools. We try to look after everybody at every stage of the business life cycle. If we don't know the answer, if the team don't know the answer, we will be honest and say that, but we will find the answer out for you, either by contacting, say, one of our business advisors through the Enterprise Centre, or somebody else in government. We might contact Tourism Tasmania. It might be something that's very specific to the tourism industry that's happening that we're not 100% sure on. But the team do try, and we pride ourselves in actually getting the answer for you, rather than having to get you to run around. We run events. We do have, these are some of our tools from starting a business. I'm assuming that most of you here have already started your business and you're up and running, but this is just an idea of the website and how you can find it. We'll go to the next. This is some tools on how you to go about managing your business. So if you are looking at employing people, there is a section on employing and managing people. There is some information on tax. We've just passed over our new financial year. So there's a whole lot of tools to navigate your way through. This is our events page. So this is how we try and communicate what's happening right across Tasmania. So we not only advertise on their events that are government run, but if there are any industry events, this website just does a scan and picks up the most important events that we believe, or the team believe, are relevant to Tasmanian small businesses. So that's another good sort of way to keep, I suppose, informed as to what's actually happening. Thanks. These are some other resources that we do have on our website. I'm not going to run through them because I actually am conscious of time. These are some examples of our guides that we have. So starting a business, as I said, is probably not relevant to a lot of you in the room, but our business grants writing handbook hopefully is something that you may be interested in the future. Our emergency preparation toolkit. We are in COVID at the moment, but we know that continuity planning and working out how we can sustain our business at times of disruption, this is a really good resource just to help you think about if there is another event, whether it be, hopefully it won't be another pandemic, but if there is an event that does prevent you from actually operating your business, it is something that we are encouraging businesses to have in place, is to think about the types of tools or what they would need to continue their business if it was disrupted, and what are the most important elements of your business that you would need to continue to keep up and running. So that is also something that it doesn't have to be necessarily an emergency, but it's how to be prepared in the event if there is a disruption to your business. This is how you can connect with us. I'll just leave that on the screen. So there are 2 grant programs that are out at the moment. Well, One is out at the moment. So we do have between $750 and $1,500 available via our business advice, small business advice and financial guidance program. So that's a program where you can actually apply for some grant funding to get some specialist advice above and beyond what you can currently get from an enterprise centre or from the Digital Ready program. So you can actually connect with that program from our Business Tas website. The Minister for Hospitality and Events, he also announced a program a couple of weeks ago, and that's the Revitalizing Local Hospitality Venues Grant Program. That program will also be coming out or open for applications around about the 1st of September. So I strongly encourage, if anyone hasn't already registered for our Business Tas website, by registering to that website, to our newsletter, you can actually gain information and insights as to what's actually happening at that time in place. So if you register to receive our newsletter, you will actually find out when grant programs are opening or information that is happening that is relevant to small businesses, whether it be a grant program or even if there's a change. So for example, when we're in the emergency public health direction, or when we were operating in that environment, when there were public health direction changes that impacted businesses, BT were the ones that we'd announce that via BT newsletter. So it is a way to keep up to date with actually what's happening. So that's our newsletter. I'll be around, so please come and ask me any questions that you might have, but I will hand it back to Tom. Thank you.
Firstly, thank you for having me on the island. Basically, it's such a beautiful place to visit, and really glad to be back here again. It's been a little while, so thank you for that. And thanks, Tom, for inviting me too, giving me a reason that I needed one, but another reason to come up here. So I was asked to sort of talk a little bit about what we do. I don't really want to sort of bore you with lots of PowerPoint slides, but I've got a few, and I'm conscious you probably want to really know what it is we can do to help. So I've tried in the 24 hours I've been here to connect with a few events already, and we'll definitely follow up those and see what we can do moving forward. But I will give you the elevator pitch, as I like to call it. It's the sort of what we do. If I was caught in an elevator and had to sort of sell my wares, then I'll let you know what we do. We're basically the arm of government that administer nearly all the funding that they provide into any form of event or festival around the island. Our main aim is to get people to Tasmania or get people to this island. That is our number one KPI. It's the number one thing that we measure our investment on into events. And there would be a lot of majority of the events that are in our programs sit within that first sort of widget, as we call it. The other thing that there is a line there too, by the way, you just can't see it because it's white. Our other thing that's in our brief is ability to support events that will get people moving around our island, and it's not really from to just down the road 20 k's, but basically people that do a bit of travelling, stay overnight, that sort of thing. And the third thing, we're interested in events that have a capacity to kind of talk about Tasmania, or to talk about the stories of Tasmania, or to put some sort of promotion on the island. And I suppose it's talking about Tasmania not just during the event, but when the event finishes as well. And I think that's increasingly becoming quite important. I guess what do I mean by that? Like events like you might be familiar with the Unconformity Festival, for instance, on the West Coast. You may not be, but it's a very small bespoke festival that happens in Queenstown. And it really is, and it does attract people there from interstate, actually from international, people travelling internationally now, or prior to COVID anyway, to visit that festival. But its most powerful thing is actually its stories that it's generating all year round through publications and PR and editorial and through the arts and cultural network. And really the single story they're trying to tell there is about the mining story on the West Coast and the conservation and heritage story on the West Coast and how they butt up against each other, and that's a fabulous story, and they've been able to encapsulate that through an event. So an example of a kind of place-based event and which fits in that third widget. So like all arms of government, we have to organise ourselves. And we have funding programs that people can apply for funding, and they range from very small grants for COVID relief, or championship grants. If you've got groups of people coming together, there's money available that you can apply for, and that's pretty small level, right through to iconic funding, which we provide for things like the Dart Mofo Festival that happens in Hobart, or the V8 Supercars, indeed the AFL games and all those sorts of things that we also administer funding for. So there's a breadth of, I might just go back, if that's all right. But we also have a research and measurement program, and this is actually something that I think is a little bit underutilised. We have a independent research agency through Nielsen Research, and also Price Waterhouse, who help us do our research and analysis into our events. So that's done for two reasons. One's about measuring what we've invested in. So we've obviously invested for those three widgets. So we want to understand that those people really came for that event. We want to understand what they spent. We want to understand all those sorts of things so we can validate our spend back to government. But also, importantly, we want to research and understand what consumers want out of an event, and what are the different elements that might come together and make something really exciting and interesting for people to go and attend. Now that's a program that any event organiser can actually access and through us, and will effectively, if your event looks like it can do one of those three widgets, we'll commission research to help do market demand, or validate whether or not there's, the event will stack up. So that's a good thing. Event support is really where we work one-on-one with an event that might be forming or starting. It might be a good idea that someone has. Tom's had a few that we've worked with him in his region on over the last couple of years, which has been a really good time to actually do this sort of thing, because there's been a lot less happening in the event space. And that's where we might, it could be anything from doing some of that research I mentioned before, through to getting your financial or governance arrangements in place better, working with the committee about what good governance looks like, getting a better sort of financial model in place, through to obviously getting funding and surety for people. So that takes up a fair bit of our time. Now those special project box, that's the interesting one. Not really. That's our, I guess they're the projects that the Tasmanian government is involved in an event space that don't necessarily or don't always fit into our core program KPIs, but for other reasons government are choosing to support them. Now an example of that would be we look after the Jack Jumpers, which is the new NBL team. You may or may not be aware the government are the core funders for the NBL team, and as by virtue of that we're also heavily involved in the redevelopment of the MySpace Bank venue. So, that sort of, you can see how that doesn't necessarily fit with some of the things I talked about before, but nonetheless is part of our remit. So that's really just confers, as I said before, of all the funding administered through government. 80% of the funding is administered via us. So we're keen to talk to people and see how we can help them. Yes, so I often get this question around where our money goes and how many events we support and those sorts of things. This is a sort of snapshot from 2021, and it's not surprising to see that it's about an equal split between the north and south, and it is, it is centralised a lot around Launceston and Hobart, and you can see the east coast and the northwest, including King Island, is underrepresented, and I guess that's partly why we're here, because we are looking to try and change those numbers, and because our remit is statewide, and it's always a balancing thing for me, because I get given my funding to buy visitors effectively, but then the smaller and the more regional I go, the numbers become lower. So it's sort of a, we need to find cleverer ways to kind of be supporting things. So I just thought I'd share that, because I always get this question. They're statewide events. So 33% of our investment is on events that would occur around the state. An example of that might be Targa, for instance, because it moves through different regions. It gets classified as a statewide event. Yes, so for 21-22 we supported 80 events. Sadly, we were only able to bring 43,000 people to the state in that period. And I say sadly because that's about 50% of what we were, numbers we were achieving prior to COVID. And the average length of stay through that time was 5, and it's obviously pulled our return on investment down to 2 to 1. So we're very keen to see that ROI return to what it was pre-COVID, which was around 9 to 1. So that's a strong focus of ours over the next coming period, and it's timely because we're in the process of a strategy renewal at the moment. So, but I just thought I'd share that. And that's people that have travelled to Tasmania specifically for the sole purpose of attending an event. So that's the quick elevator pitch. Wasn't that quick, was it? I usually like to get people to ask questions at this point, but I guess we'll be doing that at a later stage. Will be Tom? Yeah. Very keen. That's my timer. Very keen to do more on King Island and see if there aren't some ways that through our programs we can't work with the existing events that are here. And I mean, obviously we'll look at it through a lens of how we can get more people onto the island, but I think there are some things we can do quickly to sort of help that. If anyone's got any ideas or thoughts or things they want to talk to me about, I'm here, so please just come and see us.
As Adam mentioned before, thanks very much to Tom and for the King Island community for allowing the THA to come over and say hello. It's certainly a place we want to come to more, and our board and our CEO and deputy CEO and our membership manager will be over in the coming months to do a bit of a roadshow, so you'll hear more information when that comes to hand. So, does anyone know what the THA is? Adam explained it really well, so I'll be very, very quick. Anyone dealt with the THA? No, awesome. We're doing a tremendous job here, aren't we? I ranked last, as you can tell, he switched off. So the first sentence is probably the most important and sums us up. So the Hospitality Association is the peak industry body for hotels, accommodation, restaurants, cafes, caterers, the community, sporting and RSL clubs in Tasmania. So we are an industry-led peak body that has a direct voice to government. We're an advocate for our members, and we have 750 members in Tasmania. We engage with members and non-members. My role is certainly liaising with anyone in the hospitality industry, and our board are people that have businesses in the industry or work in the industry. So we're very determined to make sure that what we do say is representative of what the industry and the hospitality members are feeling and what their needs are. In terms of our benefits of being a member, the biggest ones primarily, apart from being an advocate to government, employee relations. So Merv Saltmarsh is our ER guru. He'll work with members from entry to exit. He'll work with you. I'm sure no one here, but he's attended Fair Work with our members, position descriptions, award rates, anything that's required, assistance through COVID. That's a massive, massive benefit and massive part of what he does and what we offer. Steve Old has told me I need to be available 24/7. I won't help you 24/7, but I'll certainly put you in touch with the right person, or we'll be there for you, because we understand if you're making the time and effort to contact us, it's essential to your business. We have networking events. We engage with suppliers. We try and provide the most up-to-date information through newsletters and webinars and videos, so that everyone in the industry is updated with the most up-to-date information that will help your business and assist in these times. Some of our corporate partners are Gallagher's Insurance, as I said, suppliers, energy. That there are organisations on the northwest that have saved, a golf club in particular saved $12,000 through engaging with our corporate partners. One in Launceston, a restaurant, saved $6,000. Another one on the far northwest saved $4,000. So there's savings to be made by looking at our corporate partners, because we do have 750 members. We've got clout, we've got buying power, and we're representing 750 rather than one business. Some of the government programs work very close with the government, and very grateful that we can talk to Tourism Tas Events, Tas State Growth and West by Northwest to make sure that everything we do is in line with their strategy and what they're trying to do for tourism and hospitality in Tasmania. The key pillars in our government programs are industry and workforce development, Clubs Tasmania, the great customer experience, women in leadership, and mental health, which isn't noted, but they're the key pillars of our government grants. So our workforce development, we work very closely with schools and look at the pathways for anyone trying to enter or be part of the hospitality industry. I think that the hospitality industry is brilliant. I've been in it for 20 years. For me, it started as a rep with CUB, where we were told it's fun in a bottle. So it's been fun ever since, probably at times too much fun. But we're trying to engage and make people understand that you can have a great career in hospitality, you can have an awesome career in tourism. There's money to be made, and great money, that people don't realise. It's not just a stopgap or while you're at uni or a casual job. It can be anything you want it to be, and you can also travel the world. So our workforce development looks at meeting those needs, seeing and tying them in with our members and businesses to cater for that demand that we currently have a shortage of in the state. Mental health, that affects every industry and every person, and we're all touched by that in some capacity. So we have a lot of strategies in place to try and assist. A lot of businesses are doing it tough with staff shortages, with pressures, financial and emotional, from COVID. So we're working very closely to try and assist and come up with strategies and be a sounding board for anyone who needs our assistance in any way. We look to promote excellence through our awards for excellence. and certainly recognising those organisations that are doing a tremendous job, and there's so many here that we like to encourage and support and promote. And spread the word that it is a great industry and you are doing a brilliant job with world-class facilities, produce and service. And industry development, looking at ways we can engage and work with those stakeholders, as I said before, to increase investment profitability and money back into the sector. Clubs Tasmania, so we have a designated resource which works with all sporting RSL and community clubs in the state. We've had $28 million in government funding since 2018, and we work very closely with every club across the state, be that any sport or RSL, with all those needs that I mentioned before, excuse me, to try and engage them and also make an impact to their players and their communities and their organisations. This is my role, so I'm on the ground, talking to anyone who will listen, door knocking and providing assistance in any capacity that any of you would like. So later on, please come and tap me on the shoulder. We can have a chat about ways that you may need assistance or advice in terms of training, skills development, COVID information, business information, contacts, supplier agreements, or it might be just have a beer. I'm happy to have a frothy in the bar with anyone on Tom's account and also Kate's shout. But what I do is work closely with venues to outline what we are striving to achieve, and that's great customer service, and we align that to Tourism Tas and their brand and their reputation, and drill down to West by Northwest to ensure that what we're talking to our members and organisations about reflects those brand and reputational values that Tourism Tas and the RTOs are spreading to the rest of Australia. We're also looking to increase the number of women in our industry, and in particular those in leadership. So we're working with Women in Leadership, I Lead programs to promote and foster more females in leadership positions right across the industry, working on skills, working on a mentoring program and advice so that there is a pathway and opportunities to seek out and seek advice from people who have achieved greatness in our industry, such as Karen Burberry, to name one, but there are multiple that are thriving in an industry which predominantly has been male-dominated. So this is another state government-funded initiative with $200,000 per year, and we've got a number of initiatives which are on our website focused on increasing women in leadership roles. Told you I'd be quick. So this is our team. As I said, they'll be over probably in October, but that date will be confirmed. Nick Roney's our membership man. I know there are a few members of the THA possibly in the room, certainly in King Island. I do the great customer experience, and my cards I'll put on the bar and as coasters, so take one home with you. We've also got one in a GCE representative in Launceston and Hobart. Andrew Moore's our Clubs Tasmania, and our CEO Steve Old, and Brad Upton is our Deputy CEO. So that's it. I think I've been very, very quick, but thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate that, and please grab me later on. Thanks.
Braddon Business Centre, it is funded through a range of means, but mainly through the Enterprise Centre program of Tasmania, which Kate very ably looks after. There are about 6 service providers around the state, and we provide up to 5 hours worth of free advice to people who want to start up and are already operating their own business. Look, we can cover
a wide variety of areas. We're generally specialists. We're not specialists. We're actually generalists. We're a bit like a GP when it comes to business. We know what boxes to tick. Some of those boxes we can tick, and others that we refer on to other people, particularly in areas of compliance and technical specialists. We tend to refer to accountants, lawyers, financial planners, urban planners, all of those sorts of people. But look, rather than talk about what we do, I thought I'd take this opportunity to do something a little bit different and just talk about advice and advisors. The areas that are covered in small business is that big. It's huge, and we need to cover all of those things. Most people, well, all operators of existing businesses will have an accountant, and they are fantastic at what they do. But out of that big, they cover that much. It is compliance and tax, and you need those people, and they are excellent at what they do. What I'm trying to get the message across is that business advice is broader than just compliance, and the successful businesses and the good operators seek advice. I hear too often that if as a business operator I need advice, well, I shouldn't be in business. If I need to go and see an advisor, well, there must be something wrong. All the successful business operators seek advice because it collapses the time it takes to get to where you want to go. It makes it much, much quicker. If you live long enough, you'll get there. But we can help you get there a lot quicker. In the 20-odd years that I have been an advisor, and I run my own business in addition to the Enterprise Centre program, and I'll make that point right now, is that the advisors engaged by Braddon Business Centre all operate their own businesses. They have established and are running successfully their own businesses in the advice area, as well as providing advice under the Enterprise Centre program. I think it's a bit trite to try and help people who are in small business if you haven't been there and done it yourself. It's in my case, and Fleur Burke, who provides Enterprise Centre services in Central North West, we have both set up and operated our own businesses from scratch. So we know what it's like, and so we know what it feels like and what it tastes like, and waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning and thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get over this problem. We've been there too, and so we've got some empathy with operators of small businesses. And talking about operators of small businesses, everyone who operates a small business comes in with their own particular unique combination of skills, knowledges, experiences, qualifications, aspirations, values, preferences, timeframes, resources, and that all goes into the melting pot, and what comes out is their business. That's the reason why no two businesses are the same, and no two business operators are the same. So therefore you can't take a one-size-fits-all approach to helping operators of small business. And I'll go along as far as to say that operators of small businesses tend to network pretty well and tend to seek advice and information from other advisors, and that's a really, really good thing to do. But you need to take into consideration that what has worked for one operator may not necessarily work for another one, because business operators have strengths and weaknesses in different areas, and the result of their business is the combination of their own unique strengths and weaknesses. So by all means, talk to other business operators, but beware that what works for one person may not necessarily work for another, and that's where advisors come in. And good advisors work through structures and frameworks and methodologies. It is not the case, you tell me your problem and I'll tell you my view of the answer. This is the process we're actually going to work through to get to the unique solution for you and your business. It's a very unique and customised process that actually we work through. So there's no silver bullets. There's no one size fits all. It's no, you do this and this and this and all your problems are sorted out. It's actually none of that. I wish it was as simple as that, but it actually never is. So each business is different because each owners of the businesses is different. And they're not different just to be nice or I just feel like being different. It's because they're all a different combination of, as I've said, qualifications, experience, knowledge, aspirations, the reason they go into business, it's all different. So the solutions and the recommendations that we come up with are also all different. Quite often we come up with a recommendation which is not what people want to hear, but we've actually still got to tell you that. Having said that, I've seen businesses which I've thought was an absolute lay-down misere. You know, here's a customer, here's a supplier, here's someone in the middle, and this should be brilliant, and it ends up being an absolute dog's breakfast. And I've seen the opposite, where I've thought, gee, this is going to be a really tough ask for this. I'm not sure how this is going to go, and a person's done an absolutely brilliant job of it. So we're not in the game of saying that won't work, because you've got this thing called a human being in the middle of it, who I've seen absolutely and utterly amazing things produced by people who just get at it and do it and try it and try it and try it again. And that's been my experience with working with business on King Island. They really do just get in and do stuff. Businesses elsewhere in the state have a bit of a sense of entitlement, you know, what have the Romans done for us? But that's not the case on King Island. Sometimes I wish they think, rather than just getting in and doing it, ask for some advice first. But, you know, there's not a sense of entitlement generally from business operators from King Island. And that's one of the real reasons that I like working with business from King Island, and we're over here reasonably often, is because we all love working with the willing workers. And that's why we work. I like working with business on King Island. King Island businesses have a lot of characteristics that are common to other businesses, but there are also some quite unique circumstances that face King Island. And I've been coming here since 2014, and have got to know some of those. So we are able to bring a customised solution not only to your business but to your business on King Island. So it's worth having a yaffle as far as that's concerned. As I've said, we are generalists, we're not specialists. We don't do tax, we don't do contracts, we don't do anything where there is a technical legal compliance. That's a whole field on its own. What we can do in those cases is say, look, you need to go and see this person. This is how they work, and these are the questions you need to ask them. So rather than going there and saying, I don't know how to work with my accountant, I don't know what questions to ask the lawyer, I don't know what questions to ask the planner with council and all those sorts of things, we can help you with all those sorts of things. So you're going there with fully armed. In the advice field, and as an advisor, there is nothing that we like better than a client who knows what they want, rather than trying to sit down and work it all out. But if that's what we have to do, then that is what we have to do. So look, I'm going to finish pretty shortly, and so if you first of all do seek advice, and the smart people seek advice. That's the first thing. The second thing, when you are seeking an advisor, the sort of question you should be asking for them is not what's the answer. The question you should be asking them, what's the process we're going to go through to get to the answer? So that you know that you're not dealing with a one-size-fits-all, a silver bullet, and then you can understand how they're going to go about doing it. And if they can't explain to you, then you probably need to go and talk to another advisor. I will say that is the way that we work. We've got a lot of structures, frameworks, processes that we go through, and we can explain how we're going to get to the answer so that you understand where we're going, and you understand how to get there. So that's probably all we need to say. I love working with small business. I think it's fantastic. I work at the big end of town and the small end of town, and the small end of town, they're heaps better people to work with, I can tell you. They're great. And it's far more challenging, but far more rewarding. So thanks, Tom, and thanks, Adam, and hope to see you around the trap sometime. Thanks.
For those who I haven't met, I'm Anne Greentree, Director of Visitor Economy Strategy, as Adam introduced me at the start. I have the job of pulling together the strategy, the tourism and hospitality strategy, or the visitor economy strategy for Tasmania for 2030, basically. And all of the stuff that you've heard from the speakers today are great content for what we're about to talk about. And it really is, as Adam said in the intro, what do we need to happen to make tourism and hospitality really fly in Tassie over the next 8 years out to 2030? And so that's what this conversation is going to be about today. We've done some thinking, as you can well imagine, in tourism and hospitality circles. And in fact, the strategy is a partnership between government, so the government partners you see here today, Events Tas, State Growth, Tourism Tas, that's the government partners to the visitor economy strategy, and we partner with our two industry associations, THA and the Tourism Industry Council of Tassie. So that's really the partnership that forms this visitor economy strategy. And we might head right into it off the back of that. Tom and I are going to do a bit of a sideshow here today. Tom's singing, I'm not. Okay, so I think Adam's intro really was a great place to start. COVID has, as we all know, provided a really big challenge for us. And so I think we've got to really put our thinking caps on and look at what's happening around the world, what's happening in terms of visitation to Tassie, what's happening in our regional towns and communities, to really think through what do we need to do to make Tassie and King Island and all of our regional destinations places that visitors want to come to, and in addition, places that we all want to continue to live in, and all of our locals and our communities that we all want to be proud of in terms of showcasing our home, our places to visitors. So there's two flip sides to this thing we want to think about today. One is, how do we get the visitors that we want into Tassie and into King Island? But two, how do we make sure that our destination, our place that we call home, remains a place that we continue to want to call home? That's really the core of the conversation that we want to have today. So some of you might have been involved in a conversation in 2019 where we, pre-COVID, we're thinking, what's our 10-year strategy for the visitor economy? And we had 19 workshops around the state. We talked to over 500 tourism and hospitality operators, broader visitor economy stakeholders, and these are the themes that were important to us at that time. It's not so different to now, really. We want to grow visitation to Tassie that's economically sound, sustainably, socially sustainable, that's the community stuff we're talking about, and environmentally sustainable. We want to put our regional towns and communities at the heart of our strategy. We want to grow a skilled workforce. We want to support our Tasmanian Aboriginal people to reap the benefits of tourism, to get involved in tourism and hospitality. And things like being able to tell our story. How do we equip ourselves to better tell our story? And of course, fundamentally, we want to have prosperous and sustainable businesses. And it's great to have Business Tas and the Business Enterprise focus here today, because great resources to help that happen. And we want to foster diversity, and it's great to hear Stuart talking about women in leadership as part of the future of our industry, because diversity is important in the future resilience and sustainability of our industry. So you might be familiar with the 2-year plan. So off the back of all of that consultation, obviously COVID hit, and what we did instead of developing a 10-year plan was look at those themes that came out from that consultation and say, what's going to help us get through this pandemic? And as you can imagine, we're at the start of the pandemic. We released this 2-year plan in August 2020, and it was a bit of crystal ball gazing, to be honest, but we had a lot of great content from people right around the state to work with, and we developed 90 actions that we thought, well, we've got to really focus on what's going to equip our businesses to really get through this pandemic. And in addition, we thought we don't want to lose sight of those long-term goals that people talked about in terms of those really aspirational, big picture goals that we had for the state at the time. Nearly 2 years down the track, we're 97% complete on those actions. We've got 4 big ticket items we're continuing to work on until the end of 2022, and we'll talk a bit about those a bit later on. But in addition to those 90 actions, I mean, there has been a huge amount of grants and loans and vouchers and support that wasn't even in this plan. And we've been able to switch and change and get support out for businesses and for driving visitation, whether it was Tasmanian visitation at the times when the borders were shut, to really support our sector get through the past couple of years. And it's been difficult. Obviously, it's been difficult for everyone in different ways, and I don't think we're certainly not taking the view that we're through. We're going to take a 3-year focus for the next few years and say, what do we need to continue to make sure that we're still growing resilient and sustainably in our sector moving forward. So in terms of how we've gone, this is just I guess a quick sense of what we thought would happen in 2020, mid-2020. This little dotted line here, this grey dotted line here is actually where we thought our domestic visitor spend would be as we came through recovery over the 2-year period. This 100% line here is the visitor spend from 2019. So what we wanted to do, our goal was to say, by the end of 2022, we want to be back to pre-COVID levels in terms of domestic visitor spend. That was our goal. The green line is actually what's happened for us in terms of visitor spend. So we've obviously had some really bad lows, but we've had some really great highs. And I think Tasmanians have been fantastic in terms of getting out and experiencing the state. And likewise, our domestic visitation is, forward projections are coming back strong. And that's all good news. Our job now is how do we get visitors to spread around the state, and how do we make sure that we know what we want to be as a destination, and that we're taking actions to position ourselves to be where we want to be in 10 years' time, out to 2030. I know that's not 10 years. Tom will correct me. Arithmetic. So one of the interesting things is that we talk a lot about COVID, the world changed with COVID. But in terms of what our goal was, which what we heard loud and clear through the 2019 workshops was that we want to be a responsible and sustainable destination. We want to be a leader in that space. And through things like our renewable energy, Tassie's already very well positioned in some of these areas. And the world had already changed. Like, forget COVID, the world was already, consumer trends were already pointing very much in terms of that direction. People wanted, well before COVID, to be supporting companies, destinations, products that really were sustainable. They cared about their community. They cared about making sure that profits were going back into communities and destinations. So that trend was already happening pre-COVID, and through COVID, the trends that we're seeing through our research is that has just been completely amplified. That is what travellers want. They want to connect with people. They want to connect with destinations that offer a real experience, and this is what Tasmania is all about. So we're very well positioned. So I guess this is one of the ideas that we've been working on as a result of our original vision, which was around being responsible and sustainable. And what we've seen during COVID is an even greater shift towards that kind of trend. And what we want to talk about now is a little bit about where we think our future should head in terms of our goals and our aspirations. And this is the kind of conversation we're going to have in a few minutes' time. So if you think about now, think about how you operate, sustainability really, I think for most of us, has been about recycling. How do we save water? How do we save energy? And most of that is really about how do we minimise the negative impact to maintain our way of life. It's really shifted, and Tourism Tasmania partners with a leading Australian research or a global research company called KITI, and they're a leader in sustainable research. And what that research is telling us is that this trend was already happening pre-COVID, well and truly. And in the US in 2021, shoppers were already spending billions on products that they were choosing because of their sustainability credentials. So consumers were making active choices around choosing products that had a strong sustainability factored into the way that they were produced, and that story was really hooking consumers in. Same with brands. 44% of investors say that they divest from companies with poor sustainability performance. So people are actually removing their investment funds from companies because of poor sustainability performance. And the trends show, the research shows that this is just going to increase over time. So brands that have strong sustainability credentials, that's where people are going to be attracted to, whether they're purchasing products, whether they're investing money. This is the trend of the future. In Australia, what Kantar's found is that 48% of us believe buying sustainable products shows others who and what they believe in. It's a bit of this is my brand. But it goes deeper than that. 45% of us pay a lot of attention to environmental and societal issues in the news, and 42% see friends and family actively changing their behaviour to being more sustainable. And the other side of that is that 48% of Australians are prepared to invest time and money to support companies that try to do good. People are stopping buying certain products and services because of their impact on the environment or society. And 37% of Australians are actively seeking out companies and brands that offer ways to offset their impact on the environment, for example, planting trees. So what I guess this tells us is that it's no longer good enough to think about sustainability as something that we do to fix what's already happened. It's about how do we change our behaviour and our thinking to be making a positive difference into the future. And this really is redefining what sustainability is and how we think about it. This is a really interesting chart because when you think about brands, what this is telling us is that the brands that are really strong in what they represent, and we know that Tasmania's got a very strong brand and market as a visitor destination, and I would dare say as a place as well. People know what we're about. What this says is that those brands that do have that brand strength generate superior shareholder returns, think about it as a company, but think about it as a destination. We're talking demand for our product. They're more resilient in times of crisis. Tourism Tasmania has monitored the brand strength of Tassie as a destination and market during COVID, and fair to say, Tassie has maintained our brand strength in market. And thirdly, recover more quickly. And certainly if you think about Tassie in terms of forward projections, demand, that is true, very true. We had Alan Joyce come and speak at a tourism industry event not long ago. And it's interesting, I mean, when you think about carbon emissions, the airline industry would have to be one of the biggest emitters. And he is absolutely committed to offsetting and achieving carbon neutrality for Qantas. And to the point where, and I guess this is where the rubber hits the road, where Qantas is now, when they purchase an asset, they build the price of carbon into that. Their roadmap for 2030 includes how they're going to achieve a sustainable aviation fuel business, how they're going to offset. And I think we all have the opportunity to offset when we purchase a flight. I guess the question is, how often do we do that? And this is the kind of thing that we're going to be thinking about into the future. Technology that really helps them achieve their carbon neutrality goal. This conversation is happening around the world, and it's not just about carbon neutrality, it's about how all of this sustainability, broader sustainability, builds into communities and the way businesses make a contribution to the communities they operate within. For example, the Great Barrier Reef. Farmers, one of the largest impacts on the Great Barrier Reef is the runoff, and there is a lot of work happening in the agricultural sector up there around how to turn that around. And this is the kind of practical work that's going on. So, message is, we can't think about just fixing the past, we've got to look at how we make a positive impact for the future. And which is where we get to our action. No good just having a vision. How do we actually take action to achieve our vision? And so the question is, for us today, what is our vision for our 2030 strategy generally, but also how does that apply to King Island and for our industry sector on King Island? We can take lessons from a few other destinations around the world. Hawaii has just turned their marketing group over to a not-for-profit rooted in local culture. So they're thinking about how do they contribute to their local community through all of their ventures. Key West voters have just banned cruise ships with more than 1,300 passengers coming through. During COVID, they saw their marine sanctuary bounce back, and they've decided actually they want to help their marine sanctuary continue that to flourish. France only this week has introduced quotas into their national parks and some of their countryside towns because the French during COVID were trampling the towns and the national parks. And it's not just about visitors, it's about how do we all collectively make sure that we maintain our special places. So what we're going to do is spend a bit of time in groups talking about coming back to these themes that came out of our 2019 work, and we'll leave them up. But we've got two questions we'd like you to consider, and this is really providing great feedback to us to get a feel for where what's important in our regional towns and communities, and what would you like to see as priorities in the visitor economy strategy moving forward. So the first question is, What do we think King Island locals think of tourism and hospitality on the island? Do we know what our locals think? What is that? And what can tourism do to add value or contribute positively to King Island as a place, as a community? And secondly, thinking about those key focus areas, is there anything missing? Adam at the start went through a list of things from investment in the airport, workforce, whole range of things. So when you see those priority areas that we've identified from 2019, what's missing now for King Island? And what would you prioritise? What do you think comes to the top in terms of making a difference for tourism and hospitality and community here on King Island? So we'll just have a conversation, and if we could identify a spokesperson who will then have to speak into a roving mic and just share a bit of what the conversation has been in the group. That's just deterred most people speaking to the mic. Yeah, look, take 10 minutes and then we'll come back. What do we think King Island locals think of tourism and hospitality on the island? Do we know what our locals think? What is that? And what can tourism do to add value or contribute positively to King Island as a place, as a community? And secondly, thinking about those key focus areas, is there anything missing? Adam at the start went through a list of things from investment in the airport, workforce, whole range of things. So when you see those priority areas that we've identified from 2019, what's missing now for King Island? And what would you prioritise? What do you think comes to the top in terms of making a difference for tourism and hospitality and community here on King Island? So we'll just have a conversation, and if we could identify a spokesperson who will then have to speak into a roving mic and just share a bit of what the conversation has been in the group. That's just deterred most people speaking to the mic. Yeah, look, take 10 minutes and then we'll come back.
On the first question, what King Island locals think of tourism, generally we felt that King Islanders see tourism as a good thing and see many of the benefits that tourism brings to the island. We did note that there were pockets of not in my backyard, so the pub's great as it is, and when the golfers come in it all changes. Or the surfing's great, but don't let anybody else know that this is my beach and this is my break. So that kind of thing. We thought that perhaps a little bit more education about the benefits that visitors bring to the island might offset some of that. And in terms of positive impacts of tourism, we were clear there are many and many of them. If it wasn't for tourism, we wouldn't have gin on the island, we wouldn't have beer on the island, we wouldn't have so many restaurants on the island, and we wouldn't have as many flights off the island. So all of this added up as a pretty good positive. When we came to the priority focus areas, the second question, really the things that are going to work best for tourism are going to work best for the whole island. So we talked about improved freight, both sea and air. We talked about more accommodation, both residential and visitor. We talked about perhaps mitigating the cost of airfares by utilising some of the royalties from that new scheelite mine that's opening and doing something similar to what happens in WA, where intrastate fares are capped, and that's largely funded by the occasional little deposits of nice stuff they've got in the ground over there. And we also talked about improved passenger access and options for the island. So potentially different planes, more ports, and a deep water port on the island might allow some kind of passenger and vehicle ferry, which would be nice for those people who hate flying. And that was about it.
Great. Thanks, Helen.
Round of applause. Yeah.
Does everyone know each other here? So maybe when you stand up, introduce yourself as well.
I saw your face, Martha. I knew it would be you as well.
Keen as. So, I don't think we got lost in the weeds or anything, but we could have probably spoken for an hour, I think, amongst our group on the questions. So, and generally, King Islanders are very welcome of tourism. I think everybody really that lives here really believes there's something special about King Island. Like it does produce good produce. It's got amazing cattle. The beaches are incredible. That's the reason we all live here. Like we do genuinely believe there's something very special about the place. And generally people are really happy to share that. There might be a teeny tiny undercurrent of people that are very protective of what they have, but I think that generally people are very welcoming of tourism. And on the tourism thing, this is me adding a little bit in here, but so cheese originally put King Island on the map, you know, on the international map or the national map, and golf's done it recently as well. But there are still a lot of, you know, mum and dad tourists and a lot of couples, you know, that are into food and things like that are coming here. Like, I think would, you know, do an injustice to put everything in the one basket, like in the golf basket or something like that. So I think we can all benefit from all that. And also the cost of getting here, I think, gives people the impression of a level of service they're going to get. So, you know, it's so expensive to get here, so people think they're going to get, you know, 5-star Michelin, you know, restaurants and stuff, which there are fantastic restaurants, but you know, if you're here for 5 days, you know, you can't eat at Wild Harvest every night of the week. So you know, we've either got to you know, aim for budget tourism, which there's definitely a place for budget tourism, but there's also a place for high-end tourism, and you know, we're seeing both of those customers here. So I think it's being flexible and being able to you know, to cater to both those groups would be beneficial. And that's it, I think. Anyone else?
Round of applause.
Well, it's a hard gig to follow the last two speakers, particularly when we're talking about the same thing, but I think it is pretty fair to say with locals that the majority of them have got it, and so I think that's been covered pretty well. I think if we move on to tourism contributing positive to King Island, and that is, I think in the marketing side of things, that we need to change our thinking in that, for an example, giving away the vouchers from Tasmania would have been much better as far as I'm concerned. The group talked about it a little, but it's about being the awareness of our destination. And I think that Tourism Tasmania has to realise and look at the focus being off the island. Look, we're proud Tasmanians, but we're stuck out in the gateway of Bass Strait and the pathway of the Roaring Forties with many unique features. And as I was just about to say to this young lady, there's not many destinations that you can go from the tallest lighthouse in the Southern Hemisphere to a shipwreck story, second to none. We've had the cheese factory. We've got a 7,000-year-old calcified forest. We've got these icons that need to be put out there as a destination, but we also need to say, hey, we're Outback Australia. It is like stepping back in time. And yes, we have got some great accommodation here on King Island. And yes, a bottom end is welcome just the same. You know, we have a lot of surfers go through our property all the time, constantly recently. So there is a marketing mix that needs to happen, but as far as anything goes, the biggest thing is, and if I can get to which comes first, the chicken or the egg, and is $50-70 million out of the question on an airport if you're bringing in a Qantas link or something like that? I don't know, the powers to be and local government, and you look at all of that and what it does to the branding of Tasmania, not just King Island, we have to start somewhere. So our group thinks it's very important as far as having an airline service that can match the growth, and that's probably one of the biggest things that we've sort of talked about in our group, is getting that part of it right. Because without that right, the rest of it can't grow and won't grow. Thank you.
Hi everybody, and I think this is a really good workshop, don't you think? This is a nice opportunity to be able to talk about the island that we love and what we do here and how we can improve but also maintain what we do and yeah, just work on what we've got and look at potentially what we can do, but let's plan ahead. Let's tread carefully, because if we get too big too fast and we don't actually put things in place, that could be an interesting thing. Like if we get Qantas links planes in, that changes the dynamics of the whole island across the board, not just tourism, but everything. So we have to consider factors of growth in all sorts of ways. But yeah, kudos to people that are in hospitality and in business and that live here and choose to stay here and volunteer and embrace it and spend time doing workshops like we are now to see how we can go together better.
Look, thank you for that. And I think the diversity of experience and views about current and future is what this is all about. And I really hope that through this process that we can have conversations, at the state level about where we want to head for Tasmania, but remembering that Tasmania is made up of a whole lot of communities. And I think that's the one of the really important things that we can't miss when we develop this statewide strategy. So I'm really looking forward to working with you all and with our Regional Tourism Organisation Network and our other industry partners on developing this strategy over the coming months. And we look forward to having a bit more content developed. And thank you for your views about the contribution that tourism can make particularly, and starting thinking around what does that mean for our communities and the places that we live, and how can our sector make a difference, a positive difference to the future of these very special places that we live in. Because planning, I think, is what it's all about. Yep. And how do we know where we're going and how do we plan to get there? So thank you very much for your time, and we're only 5 minutes over. Good work.
Thank you very much, Anne, and to everybody for participating. I don't want to imply that I didn't have faith, but I can't believe we've got this done right on time. I hope you do stick around now and have we've got a cheese platter on its way in, and we've got a bit of a tab on the bar. We were hoping to have the bar open here, but of course, case in point, staffing issues caused by COVID. So this is what we're living with. So please make your way through to the bar and grab yourself a drink on us as our way of saying thank you for participating in this. And when you consider your participation in this, please know that it is these conversations that genuinely inform the future strategy for the state. I've seen it play out, particularly in the 2019 versions. These conversations are now in black and white hard copy in the strategy for the last couple of years. So don't think this is just a flippant, get together and have a chat and it'll all go in one ear out the other. This genuinely informs the future of the island's visitor economy strategy. And by island, I mean Tasmania, but also King Island more specifically. So thank you very much for your thoughts. Keep them coming. It's not constrained to tonight. Keep your thoughts coming if you have them afterwards.